I'm just going to mute Tanya. She's a little loud. Hi, welcome to 3WE. This is the third season, and we are catching up late with y'all. A few of us are here online, a few of us are in Denver, and we're going to get rolling with the people that are here. I just would love to say welcome back. It's been a long time since we've chatted, and we're happy to be here, and we're hoping to hear from all of you. And I'll have Patrice say hello, and if you want to get started, if you're having a beverage tonight, or if you're just chilling out and what you're doing.
Hello, and as Laura said, it is great to be back and online and chatting with everyone. We've missed you all. And tonight I am live from Sacandaga Lake, New York. For those of you that know the area, it's the Adirondacks, and I just saw one of the most amazing, breathtaking sunsets ever. So it's a really beautiful evening here. And I'm having a lovely red wine, but I'd actually have to get up and get the bottle to remember what it is. And I can't wait to hear from our colleagues in Denver about what's going on at WCET and get up to speed on that and other things.
Tanya, do you want to say hello? We have some friends in a remote location, so hopefully they can hear us come in. And if not, it's probably because they're conferencing in Denver at the WCET 2017 conference. So I'll see if Tanya comes back. I'll just say hi, Laura, podcasting, streaming from home in Dallas. I actually have a colored drink that looks like a wine, but it's not. But it is cherry gin that's made from grapes, so I think that still counts. I'm having some Dylan's cherry gin. Yes, it is a wee bottle, and it's from the Niagara region. So I'm heading back home for a quick sneaky trip home this weekend. So this is in honor of the purchase and visit when I go see that distillery in Beamsville in Ontario, Canada. So I'm looking forward to saying hi. And this is gin made from grapes. So I figured that was close enough for this one. And I'm just having a quick little happy hour before I go back to some other work and design. Tanya, welcome. How's it going in Denver? No, I guess we still don't have her, Patrice. You and I.
Yeah, I guess it's just the two of us for now, and hopefully, maybe when Nori.
Oh, I can't get my.
Oh, hi, Tanya. Tell us what's happening in Denver. Tanya, remote correspondence for us. If they can hear field.
Hello?
Hi, Tanya. I don't know what's going on with the sound.
Tanya's able to talk or not?
She did for a second. I don't know what happened to her sound. We're going to work on some technical difficulties on that end. So Tanya, jump in whenever your sound comes back. So right now, Tanya, Nori, and Jess, the Fab Five, are not Fab together, but the three of them are at WCET presenting, just finishing a presentation. Tanya, we're kind of getting your sounds now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is so awful. My headset is broke, I guess, and I can't get it to work. I can't get audio to work at all, and my headset's broke. So the only way I could talk to you, and I know there's got to be a ton of background noise, is
This is This is not a surprise to us, Tanya.
What?
It's just good to hear your voice.
Yeah, so sorry about this. Jess just got done with her session, but had to run to the restroom, so I have no other people with technology here to make this happen.
Yeah, so this is what we've been talking about, this of Google.
So tell us a little bit about the conference and what's going on.
That's a good question. It's just kicked off. So we had the keynote this afternoon at, sorry, you guys are like looking in my nose and my mouth. I can't hear your audio on the other one, so I can hear you guys better. But yeah, the keynote, there was a keynote today at 1. There were pre-conference sessions. I had meetings yesterday and today this morning. And then the keynote was really great, focusing on using multiple senses and to increase your effectiveness as a communicator. And so the speaker was blind, and so just talked about using different senses and how that affects our cognitive capacity. So doing something different. And then there were a few sessions this afternoon. And so I moderated a session, and then Jess was presenting with Ryan Yang on some work they're doing at Michigan State. And Nori, several sessions today. I'm not sure her last session. I think she was presenting with Gates Bryant from Titan Partners on the Quick Framework and some others. So yeah, that's what's all been going on.
Cool. It sounds like this is just day 1, but in looking at the schedule, it is action-packed because it's 2 days. All 5 of us were there last year in Minneapolis, and they usually have a really neat, I think, melee of practitioners, researchers, faculty, managers, or just a different kind of bringing together of people for these central ideas. So I think it's really great to hear just about and gone to that you haven't been required to just go to meetings, but and learning about the speaker, it sounds like, what were some great takeaways from that keynote? Because I'd be curious to learn a little bit more about that, Tanya.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the main thing, is just, you know, the research and understanding rather than just, you know, watching something. If you're reading something, if you're listening to it too, you're more likely going to memorize it. He talked a lot about Medina's book and the cognitive science stuff. So familiar to that because Medina presented at the Online Learning Consortium conference in Orlando 3 years ago. And so, yeah, I think that research is just really interesting. So yeah, the Brain Rules book that Medina wrote. So if folks haven't read it, they might be interested and are interested in research and how our brain retains the information. Pretty interesting.
What can you share what you're presenting on while you're out there?
I am not presenting. I am on the panel, the closing panel. So there's a group of us, and they are doing a session called Stump the Experts. And so, yeah, so it'll be really interesting. It's myself and Russ Poulin and Nick White and a couple others, and we'll be talking about, you know, the audience will ask us questions about different things. We have a moderator who will choose some of those questions, and then I think it's supposed to be, you know, just all in good fun and a good time. So that'll be interesting.
That sounds awesome. And you're facilitating a hashtag QWEDU session with Nori and Jess also, is that correct?
Yeah, Nori is leading the face-to-face session for the first time. So we've taken some turns with that. And so Nori, if some folks aren't sure how we do that, you know, each person sort of takes a turn at submitting a proposal to a different conference. And we were all at this one last year. Nori submitted a proposal on our behalf, and it was accepted. So tomorrow afternoon, I want to say 3:30, I think Nori's leading a discussion, and help facilitate discussions at the tables. And so that will be tomorrow, so that's exciting.
That sounds great. I'll try and follow along on Twitter and join in the conversation.
Yeah.
Is anything there being live streamed?
I really don't know. I'm not sure.
And look, there's Jess Not. Hi, Jess.
Is it Jess or another 3WDU?
Oh, you couldn't hear it either? Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Are there going to be, I know that we don't always have a hashtag that tweet out, but will you be sharing some stuff in Google Docs or?
I'm really not quite sure. Yeah, I mean, you'll have to ask Nori about all of that.
A question about your the Medina book. Is that the Brain Rules book, The Aging Well?
Correct.
Or was it a different book that you're referring to?
Yeah, I think that's the one. Brain Rules by Medina. Yeah.
The Brain Rules. Cool.
It looks like Jess popped out and is maybe going to pop back in.
She's having problems too. Are we on the control panel, or is our audio maybe turned off or something?
No, you're all on.
Yeah, I can't hear it all. That's why I have my phone up to my ear.
Well, you are on site at a probably noisy conference.
I know, right?
So we appreciate you taking time out.
I was wondering too if maybe that's why the laptops aren't working. Can you mute your audio? Because we are on such a narrow bandwidth at this hotel that I think maybe that it's messing with the audio. I don't know. Google Hangouts always works for me, and I restarted twice. I couldn't get my audio to work.
Well, hi, Jess. Oh, Jess was there, and Jess is just coming and going. So I'm going to put on a to-read list this Brain Rules. It looks interesting.
So I'm curious. I mean, it's been since May, maybe, or June. I can't remember when our last podcast was, but I bet it's been close to 6 months. And I know a lot has been going on in my life. And I'm just wondering, Tanya and Laura, what's on your mind as far as women and wine and bantering and everything else that's happened over the summer and fall?
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing what you guys were working on over the summer.
Yeah, so we took a break over the summer. If those of you who are just watching for the first time because you heard of us from maybe the WCET conference. So typically once a month we used to have a podcast Wednesdays, one Wednesday of the month, and we'd have chats and maybe have a guest. And I think we took a pause for the summer for different things that we're working on and projects. And some things that I've been working on this summer have been a lot more to do with research and looking about how we learn in networks, how we learn from podcasts, how we learn from different things that aren't as formal in education, and how they may contribute to our professional learning and development. Because I have some questions about how we learn as professionals, both staff and faculty, and are we doing it the right way? And do we always need to go to that meeting once a year? Or how are we sharing knowledge? And that's kind of what I've been investigating and interviewing and talking with folks and doing some nerdy research. So that's kind of where I spent a lot of my summer. Patrice, what have you been working on lately?
So I would say a couple of things. I mean, one thing that has kind of, been the focus of my life right now is just as my youngest shipped off and I was entering the empty nest phase of my life, which I talked about quite a bit last year, I've taken on the role of elder care, which I think is not a topic that's talked about a lot, and that women do take on more of that role and, the impact that it has on our choices and our career. And I know we were just talking about that in our Artist's Way discussion, and the kind of that balance of who do you put first? That's kind of always, I think, it's a central role for people that are in a caretaking role. And outside of that, I have been spending a lot of time working with a team of people on a research design project around the SenseMaker tool. which is which is a research tool that collects narrative stories, and then the person who shares the narrative signifies their own story. And it's a new and different tool to the academic community. It's been used quite a bit in businesses and in government. And so we're just spending a lot of time looking at it and trying to understand how it might make sense to use it in the research community. And also how you talk to academics about it, because they have been using it's interesting when you take something that's entirely from the business world and try and bring it into the academic world. And so we're really looking at a couple of different studies. One has to do with STEM students, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics students. How do we create an environment where they thrive and flourish? And the other is looking at safety on campus, which I know is a large issue. And at Cornell, just recently, we've had a number of issues. So I'm really excited about this work, and I'm working with we were on a call the other day, and there were 7 of us, and we were like, we are all women, and it's awesome. And yeah, so I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, the SenseMaker tool, I'm glad that you've had a chance to, take a look at that and have some research. I'm really interested in what you guys are doing with it and what you're finding and those sorts of things. So I, hope to keep up on your work in that area.
Yeah, we should definitely catch up on it because we are doing a lot that might be able to be incorporated in some of the work that you're doing. And I could see where, from some of the topics that we talk about, women in leadership, and just thinking about systemic change. And, there's been some discussions recently about women who are like in those really upper leadership roles feeling isolated. I think it's a really great tool to capture and measure those things that are really hard to measure, and think about how we can nudge those stories. We have more stories in the direction that we want to go in.
Yeah, I think there's different, there's obviously emerging methodologies based on the advancement in technology. So it's cool to, see things moving along with that tool.
So what Tanya,
go ahead.
No, I wanted to hear what you.
I was going to say, and Nori, not Nori, but Patrice.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say the Artist Way, if you're interested, I'll share what Patrice and I have been kind of plugging away each week. If you're interested in looking at that, it's a book, and we write each morning, or try to write each morning or day. So we're weekly chatting about our creative selves and what we want to do. We've been doing this last few weeks. So it's our own professional development. So we'll share a couple links that you can take a look at.
And Tanya, I was just going to ask you, I know that on social media, I have been watching your amazing daughter as she blossoms and grows and starts to enter into those years where it's your life is transitioning as well, and what that's been like for you as a mother, and trying to balance that with your career.
Can you guys hear me, or am I on mute? Oh, okay. Sorry, it's, we're having audio issues all around. Actually, Jess has tried on her phone and her laptop, and now she's sitting here talking to Nikki Bray, which some of us know from her work at WCT and adaptive learning. So here they are. The video's off. Hold on.
Hi guys, I can't hear a thing, but I support you.
I know.
We can hear you. Sorry, Jess, that it's not working. Yeah, we weren't sure if this would fully work with you guys being away from home offices.
Yeah. Patrice, I mean, she's still only 9 years old, although she's about as tall as me. So I think I'm, they're always growing all the time so fast. And I think we are consistently, especially as women with careers, are dealt with those challenges of trying to balance both. So, still, she doesn't like for me to travel for work and all those fun things, but at least now we can have discussions and talk about why I do that. And, you know, at the end of the day, I just continue to do and show her, you know, what a strong woman is and those sorts of things. And so that's where we're at. Nothing too new, nothing too exciting.
So something I was faced with recently, coming from a family standpoint. So a lot of my research is around women persisting in STEM and trying to understand why women leave STEM majors. And a lot of the research shows that sophomore year is when we lose women. So my youngest daughter, who is a sophomore at Washington State University in a biomedical engineering major, called me about a week ago to say she hates engineering and she wants to change majors. So that was a difficult discussion for me, because on the one hand, she's, you know, like it was difficult for me to kind of take a step back from that and just be there for her and listen to her and what she wants to do and kind of, you know, help her sort through it all. And I think, you know, one of the things that we talk about a lot is that, you know, a lot of times you don't really know what you want to do with the major. And for her, I think that's the gap. She just said, you know, I don't see this aligning with what I want to do when I graduate. And thinking about, you know, both how we can do a better job doing that, and then once, you know, they get into positions like where we are, to help more women stay in those positions.
That's tough. Does she know what she's thinking about, or is she accessing like resources, support to help her figure that out, or?
Yeah, so, you know, I know a few people, so I connected her with them because she's really interested in nutrition and the nutritional sciences. So she's still interested in that avenue, and, you know, we talked about a few different approaches. And she's actually thinking about either food science or biochemistry. And a shout out to her because she just made the 1V and she's now on full scholarship.
She's a crew member. She's a rower, for those of you who don't know, and that's pretty awesome. So good for her.
Looks like we lost Tanya.
I can still hear her.
Oh,
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, they just hushed everyone to give some sort of speech or something. So I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to have to cut out of here sooner than later.
Not a problem. So what we will say is, I think we're hoping to still have some regular conversations, you know, with the regular 5 folks on a monthly basis as an informal chat. And so,
oh, you guys can. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you guys can continue. I just, I'm going to have to cut out. So.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
Good
Bye,
to talk to you. Bye.
Yeah, so I was going to say, the Women Who Whine, as you have known it, are going to continue with a video kind of podcast, catch up, check in, what's what, banter, but not a formal podcast that you might know. And Patrice and I have been talking, and we could talk out loud a little bit now, of a few ideas that we're thinking of for just an audio podcast, just to bring other voices and perspectives and thoughts and ideas in to discuss deeper on some of the issues that maybe we don't always get to with the bigger group that are on the podcast, and in a different video to have the conversations we want and share some of the narratives is what we're thinking. So we still have to brainstorm, but we can share a little bit now. Patrice, what are you thinking for this version?
I think one of the things that we talked about was thinking about some of the things that we're really passionate about, or some more diverse, different conversations that we've been really interested in having, and who we might bring in to be part of those conversations. And it could be an expert in the field, or a book author, or even better, it could be somebody that nobody's ever heard of. So I think one of the things we're really looking at is just having a lot of voices heard and just digging a little bit deeper into some different topics. And I know one of the topics that we were talking about when we were brainstorming the other night that I'm interested in is global access to education for women, but looking at it, you know, we've already demonstrated that we can push content out. You know, we can make MOOCs, we can put open content out, but there's still a huge gap with the technology. And a lot of women either aren't allowed to have access or just simply don't have access. And so what are the different models and ways that we can try and help bring some of this content and, you know, have greater access to education for women, because it has, you know, benefits globally, economically, to families, to everything.
Yeah, and so Patrice and I started talking, kind of working through that, and part of this came up as we're having these conversations of who's not in these conversations. So I would love to talk with women of different spectrums of experiences, their own sexual orientations. We haven't had anyone here representing transgender, lesbian, gay, bi, anyone on the spectrum. We haven't had anyone, people of color, intersectionality, and we'd love to hear, because there are challenges and issues when that comes together, and also of different kind of areas in higher ed and what they're kind of going through. But we might even talk to authors that randomly aren't even involved in higher ed, but deal with an issue that we could definitely apply and understand more. So we're open to authors, artists, creators, makers, researchers. And I think what I've been thinking about, Patrice, since we talked last night, was it'd be nice to tap into, we have a little bit of a hub from the last few years going to conferences. We have some emails and we have some tweeters. So you'll probably hear from us in the next little while of doing some outreach for either A, suggesting a topic, a person, or volunteering yourself to come in and tell a story, talk about an issue, because these conversations won't be live like this. They'll be recorded, audio only, and we'll have some choice on whether or not you want to disclose who you are. So we might even have some anonymous guests come in, and really we want to get to the heart of a story and the narrative. And if you don't feel comfortable talking, maybe publicly, we will anonymize your voice and have you share a little bit about yourself for a podcast, because I think that's where we're going to get to some deeper issues. And I think, as I'm a big proponent, like Patrice, of open access and open education resources, I really do think podcasting lends itself to that. And we hope to have both an audio version, maybe a transcript version of that, and about new ways to offer resources for the very busy women that we know working in higher ed to access them in different ways and on demand and at their own leisure. So we're in the startup developmental phase, but we'd love to hear ideas from you. So if you have suggestions, a guest we should have, a topic we should cover, someone we should reach out to, or you want to volunteer yourself, we welcome that. So I've been thinking about that more, because I think we're thinking about, we don't even know what our audio only version is going to be called yet. We're working on that, but we're thinking about ways we could reach out. You'll still be connected to the community, the 5 of us, on a regular monthly chat as best we can. There could be breaks on that too, but we want to have a series of podcast episodes that will hopefully be in development this year to release for 2018 is probably what we're aiming for at this point.
Wow. As you said, 2018, I was like, wow, I just can't believe that. But yeah,
it's almost November.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's, I'm glad you brought that up, because we really want to hear from people that have been following us along and listening to our podcast. We would love to have you on, or at least hear about, you know, what would you like to hear more about? What are you concerned about? Do you have an author who's touched you, or another podcaster? You know, we'd love to bring them on and talk to them. And I think we just want to learn with you and, you know, just have some really meaningful conversations about topics that are important to you.
Absolutely. And you don't have to brush your hair, and you don't have to look all nice, and you don't have to be you if you don't want to. So we want to have some discretion for guests that want to have anonymity and get to an issue that they job. So maybe you don't want to be public and talk about it, or maybe you have a question that your real workplace and your campus, your university or community college campus, then we can maybe answer, or find an expert to answer. We'd also take questions. So I think Patrice and I are hoping this is going to be community kind of driven, and we'll start it a little bit, but we'd love to ask the people you want us to ask to have on as guests. We'd love to answer questions or get someone who's an expert in that area to answer those questions. And we'd love to tackle topics that are maybe a little bit awkward, uncomfortable, and really need to be talked about, because I think in this day and age, we've learned that not saying anything isn't helpful, and we think this is the good space and platform where we'd like to elevate some voices and get some issues raised. And there are so many of them, and we can do it together, I think.
And that's interesting you said that, because it made me think about how we talk a lot about the importance of putting students in liminal spaces and making them uncomfortable and having them have, you know, conversations with people across the globe they might not, so that they, you know, we're really able to see things from a different perspective. But I don't know how much we always do that. You know, and we think about when we go to conferences and different places, and we tend to be with the same people. And so that would be a great outcome, I think, you know, especially when we talk about, you know, education and leadership and different things. It does tend to be very North American, US centric. And so it would be great to have some people, you know, from across the globe to just share their stories of what's going on with them, and help us, you know, gain empathy for people who are living a different life than we are.
Yeah, and I think we'll reach out to some of our networks and maybe some of those voices and people that don't really voice them. So look out, friends of mine who don't really live on the interwebs, because I think those are the stories we really want to get to and have conversations about. So our podcast format, we're still working out. We may not go a full hour. It might be because we really get into a topic, but we're thinking of some different formats. So maybe some shorter Q&As that we can answer or tackle, or we might have a guest that we have on for a long form interview, 45, 60 minutes. So we're still working this out. And as we work this out, these will be notes we come to as we continue going back to our creative drawing boards. And yeah, if you have suggestions, tweet at us, DM the 3WEDU, and we'll definitely be putting out the email, because we'd love to hear directly from you. So we will put out, we just got to make sure that all our things look the same across the spaces. And yeah, this audio version of the podcast, we hope will be a platform where we get into some issues and ideas and things we should really be talking about with the ladies and women in higher ed. So, well, I think that's good for tonight. Is, you know, a little shorter pair. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we wrap up?
No, I think that was a great kind of launch into our next venture, and that people will be hearing more from us. And we will share possibly a new hashtag and be blogging about it. And we really look forward to hearing from everyone.
Yeah, so we'll be in touch soon, and it would be fun because Jess, Nori, and Tanya will see this afterwards and go, they're going to do what? So we welcome input from all y'all, and yeah, keep those conversations going, and we look forward to hearing what the WCET conversations with the Women Who Whine 3WEDU happen there. So have a good night, all. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Bye.